This story is titled, My FIANCE'S Rich Family Said We DONT Need Your Electrician Ass, so I walked out silently and turned their smart home into an indoor swimming pool. All right, bros, this is going to be a long one. Might need to grab a snack or something. So, I'm Jake, 28 male, and I've been engaged to this girl, Emily, 26 female, for almost 2 years. She's pretty much everything I could want, smart, gorgeous, makes me laugh, the whole package. We met when I was finishing up my electrician apprenticeship. I was fixing some bad wiring at her apartment complex when we started talking about hiking trails and movies. She's got this laugh that just makes everything better, you know? And yeah, she's fine as hell in that natural way that doesn't need tons of makeup. But her family? Holy nightmare from day one. They're that perfect suburban family with the huge house and expensive cars, but behind closed doors, total different story. Her dad, Charles, is this big investment banker who looks at you like you're something he stepped in. Literally never had a full conversation with me without checking his phone or looking over my shoulder for someone more important to talk to. Her mom, Margaret, acts all nice, filling your glass, but you can tell she's judging everything about you. And then there's her sister, Sophie, who's just exhausting, always needs attention, and starts drama for no reason. From the first time I showed up wearing my work boots, they were sizing me up. Charles would be like, "So, what is it you do again?" Every damn time, like he couldn't remember. I'm an electrician with my own business. Margaret with that fake smile saying crap like, "It must be so fulfilling to work with your hands." And Sophie making these comments like, "Isn't it dangerous? I could never date someone who might not come home one day, like I'm defusing bombs in Afghanistan or something." Emily would try to defend me sometimes, but they just steamroll right over her. She'd tell me later, they're just old-fashioned, but I knew what was up. I started holding back around them, watching what I said, feeling like I wasn't good enough. That gets to you after a while, but I put up with it because I loved her. You know? She was worth it, or at least I thought she was. We had our own apartment, our own life away from them. I was growing my electrical business, had a couple guys working for me already. Things were good when it was just us. The worst part was the holidays and family events. They'd invite all these douchebag friends over, investment bankers, lawyers, doctors, and I'd be like the exotic pet they brought out to show everyone how open-minded they were. "This is our daughter's fiancé. He's an electrician. Isn't that interesting?" And then they'd all ask me the same stupid questions like, "Do you ever get shocked? Or have you thought about going back to school?" Like my job is just some temporary thing until I figure out what I really want to do with my life. Meanwhile, I'm making better money than half those clowns, running my own business, no student loans, and actually enjoy what I do every day. But to them, if you don't wear a suit to work, you're basically a caveman. One time, I mentioned how much my business made last year, and Charles actually laughed, like I was joking. When he realized I wasn't, he just said, "Well, I suppose that's respectable for that line of work." Prick. Emily would always say, "Just ignore them," or "They don't mean anything by it." But after a while, you start to wonder if she actually sees you the way they do, like I'm some project she's working on, some fixer-upper she's going to eventually upgrade. I installed their whole smart home system myself last year. Took me 3 weekends, saved them like 15 grand. Charles acted like I was doing him some huge favor by letting me work for free. Never even said thanks. Just complained that one of the switches wasn't perfectly aligned with the others. I nearly lost it then, but kept my cool because Emily was standing right there. The really messed up thing is that they'd call me every time something went wrong with their precious house. Breaker trips? Call Jake. Internet down? Call Jake. Sprinkler system on the fritz? Call Jake. But then at dinner, they'd act like my job was one step up from being a garbage man. The hypocrisy drove me insane. After a year of this crap, I started noticing Emily changing too. She'd make these little comments about my clothes or suggest maybe I should think about taking some business classes at the community college. Nothing major, just little things that showed their poison, was starting to sink in. She'd hesitate before telling her work friends what I did. She bought me these button-up shirts that weren't really my style. Small stuff, but it adds up. I thought about bailing a few times, but man, I really loved this girl. We had plans, wanted to buy a house next year, start thinking about kids, the whole deal. Plus, I'm not the kind of guy who gives up just because things get tough. So I kept trying, bought nicer clothes for their stupid dinner parties, read up on stocks so I could talk to Charles about investments, helped Margaret set up her phone and computer whenever she had problems. Basically bent over backwards trying to make them see I was good enough for their daughter. And the whole time, I kept telling myself it would get better, that they'd eventually see. I was a good guy who treated their daughter right, worked hard, and was building something real, that eventually they'd accept me. Yeah, I know, I was being a total dumbass, but that's what you do when you love someone. You try to make it work with their family, even when they're complete jerks. However, everything changed that Friday when we were at dinner at their house again. I could tell something was up the minute we walked in. The air felt different, like when you can feel a storm coming before you see the clouds. Margaret was being extra nice, which is always a red flag. Dinner starts with the usual. Charles bragging about some deal he closed that made him another million or whatever. Margaret talking about this charity function where she met some C-list celebrity and acted like they were now besties. Sophie complaining about her gallery not getting enough foot traffic, even though her art looks like something a 5-year-old would make. Standard crap I'd learned to tune out. But then, out of nowhere, Charles looks at me with this weird expression, almost like he was excited about something, which was a first when it came to talking to me. I knew right away something was off. So, we've been thinking about your situation, he says, taking a sip of his fancy drink that probably cost more than what most people make in a day. My situation? I asked, already feeling my jerk detector going off. You mean the one where I bust my ass keeping lights on while you pretend to be Gordon Gekko? Yeah, that situation. Whenever these people started a conversation like this, it never ended well for me. He does this fake smile that doesn't reach his eyes. No offense, but I mean your career, your future, our daughter's future. I glanced at Emily, who suddenly got real interested in pushing food around her plate. That's when I knew this was planned. She knew what was coming. They'd talked about this beforehand without me. I've talked to my colleague at the firm, Charles says. Like he's announcing he's giving me a kidney or something. He's willing to bring you on, entry-level investment analysis. No degree required for this position. We're making an exception. I nearly choked on my drink. What? Margaret jumps in, all excited. We just think it would be more suitable, more secure, a real profession with advancement potential. Not that there's anything wrong with being an electrician, she said electrician like it was a disease or something, like I told her. I professionally cleaned up roadkill for a living. I have a profession, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I run my own business, got clients all over town. I employ 3 other guys now. I'd told them this at least 20 times, but they always conveniently forgot. Sophie smirked, twirling her wine glass like she was in some dumb movie. Yeah, but do you really want to be climbing through dusty attics when you're 50-50-50? This is like a chance to level up, to join the rest of us in the modern world. Level up like I was some character in a video game, like my entire career that I'd busted my ass building from nothing was just some starter level I needed to get past. We're thinking of both of you, Margaret says with that fake sweetness that makes my teeth hurt. Don't you want to give our daughter the lifestyle she deserves? Country club memberships, the right social circle, summer homes. I looked at Emily, hoping she'd say something defend me. Defend us and the plans we had made together. She finally speaks, but not what I was hoping for. Babe, you should think about it. Mom's been talking to me about this for a while, and it makes sense. Don't you want us to have a good future, to be comfortable? And that's when it hit me. She was in on this the whole time. She wasn't fighting for me. She wasn't fighting for us. She was already halfway out the door. packing her bags for a life I'd never belonged to. They'd been working on her, and she'd folded like a cheap lawn chair. Charles leans in, going for the kill. Let's be real here. You're always going to be the odd one out in this family with your job. Our friends ask what our daughter's fiancé does, and we have to say electrician. Do you know how that sounds? Frankly, we don't need another electrician in the family. We need someone who fits our world. I was about to respond when Margaret drops the bomb. We don't need you as you are. You're unnecessary to our family's future unless you change. You're always in the way of what our daughter could have with the right kind of man, the kind of man who can provide the lifestyle she was raised to expect. The table went quiet. I could hear the fancy grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I was stunned that they'd just say this to my face. Like, who does that? So let me get this straight, I finally said. You want me to quit my business, the one I've built from the ground up for the past 6 years, to come work as some entry-level lackey at Daddy's firm? Because being an electrician embarrasses you? Charles has the balls to look offended. It's an opportunity, young man. Do you know how many people would kill for a foot in the door at our firm? We're trying to help you. Help me? I repeated. By telling me my career isn't good enough? That I'm not good enough? Don't be so sensitive. Sophie chimes in. We're just being honest. If you're going to be part of this family, certain standards need to be met. I looked around the table at these 3 people looking at me like I was some charity case they were generously trying to save, then at Emily, who wouldn't even meet my eyes now. And you? I asked her directly. Is this what you want? For me to give up everything I've built to become some corporate drone so your parents aren't embarrassed at cocktail parties? She sighs, like I'm being the unreasonable one. It's not about giving up anything. It's about growing, evolving. This could be really good for us, for our future, for any children we might have. Don't you want them to have the best of everything? And that's when I knew. This wasn't just some passing idea. They'd been planning this, all of them, including the woman I thought was on my side. They'd already decided my future for me without even asking what I wanted. Something inside me changed in that moment. I'd spent 2 years trying to please these people, trying to be good enough for them, 2 years of swallowing my pride, of letting them make little digs about my career, my clothes, my background, 2 years of fixing their crap for free while they looked down on me. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up late doing estimates for clients, the early mornings and the freezing cold fixing emergency outages, the risks I'd taken getting my business off the ground, the pride I felt every time I finished a job and knew I'd done it. Right, the respect I'd earned from my clients and my employees. And here they were telling me none of that mattered, that I was just some loser who needed to be fixed before I was worthy of their precious daughter. Something just clicked in my head. Everything suddenly made sense, all the little comments, the suggestions, the helpful career advice. They never saw me as family. I was just a project they were working on, a rough draft they needed to edit until I was presentable enough. I took a drink, put my glass down, and smiled, the kind that comes when you finally see things clearly. Actually, I've been thinking about my career too, I said. They all looked surprised as hell. This clearly wasn't in their script. They expected me to either blow up or just take it, not come back with my own ideas. I'll think about your job offer, I said. But I've got some conditions. Charles raised his eyebrows, looking both surprised and irritated, like his dog just talked back to him. Conditions? Yeah. First, I want it in writing that I'll be management in 2 years with the pay to match. I'm not starting at the bottom just because you think my current career is beneath you. I already manage people now. Margaret's face got all pinched, like she was sucking on a lemon. That's hardly appropriate, not done yet, I cut in. I was so tired of being interrupted by these people. Second, I need flexible hours so I can still run my electrical business on the side. Got customers who depend on me, people I've given my word to, Sophie scoffed. You can't be serious. You can't have one foot in each world. That's not how it works. Third, I continued, ignoring her, and most important, I want a contract saying, After 1 year, your firm hires 5 trade workers, electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys for a new maintenance division I'll run. People like me deserve those chances too, and I bet your fancy office building could use some in-house maintenance staff instead of overpaying for emergency call-outs. The table went quiet as they all stared at me like I'd grown a second head. I could practically see the gears turning in their heads. They never expected me to negotiate or push back. They thought I'd just be grateful for the opportunity to join their world. Charles's face got red, that vein in his forehead popping out. You've got some nerve coming into my house making demands like that. Who the hell do you think you are? We offer you a golden opportunity, and you try to dictate terms? I stood up, tossed my napkin down. I'm that electrician who wired your whole house system, the guy who installed your security, the one who fixed your generator during the blackout last winter when all your rich friends were freezing in the dark. I'm the guy who built a business from nothing with no rich daddy to give me a head start. And I'm the guy who loves your daughter enough to want better for both of us, but not if it means becoming your doormat. You're being ridiculous, Margaret said. This attitude is exactly why we're concerned about your influence on our daughter, this working-class chip on your shoulder. Chip on my shoulder? I laughed. Lady, you and your family have done nothing but look down on me from day one. You've made it clear I'm not good enough, my job's not good enough, my background's not good enough, and now you're generously offering to fix me, make me presentable, turn me into the kind of son-in-law you can brag about at your country club. I looked at Emily. So, what's it going to be? Me, the real me, the electrician who loves you and wants to build a life with you or them and their fantasy version of who I should be. She looked at her mom, then her dad, then me. I could see the conflict in her eyes, but it wasn't much of a battle. I already knew which side was winning. Maybe you should just consider what Dad's offering, she said quietly. Don't throw everything away because you're too proud. We could have such a good life, and just like that, I knew we were done. 2 years, just gone, because at the end of the day, she didn't want me. She wanted the version of me her parents could approve of. Yeah, got it. Thanks for dinner and the career advice, I said. I walked to the door, grabbed my jacket. As I reached for the doorknob, Charles called out, "Don't be stupid. Sit down and let's talk like adults." I turned around, my hand already on the control panel mounted discreetly on the wall by the door. See, when I installed their fancy smart home system, I gave them full control. But I kept an emergency access code not because I planned to use it like this, but because rich folks who don't know tech from toast always forget to reset default passwords or update their security. I had warned them more than once, but they never listened. Nah, think we're done talking, I said, typing in the override code. First, I flipped the breaker remotely. The entire house plunged into darkness. Sophie yelped. What the hell? Next, I tapped into the security system, disabling it in seconds. The alarm gave a soft beep as it shut down. What's happening? Margaret demanded, her voice sharp in the darkness. Just showing what an unnecessary electrician can do. Charles stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. Turn that back on right now. This is my house. I smiled slightly. Funny how you need me now, isn't it? Suddenly, I'm not so unnecessary. Then, for the final touch, I accessed the sprinkler system's main controls. I knew exactly how they were wired because I installed the whole system. I had set up a basic fail-safe feature that, if triggered, would activate the internal sprinklers designed for fire emergencies. I tapped the sequence and stepped toward the door. Behind me, I heard the hiss of water, not just outside sprinklers, but the ceiling-mounted fire suppression ones kicking into full gear. Water sprayed everywhere. Their expensive furniture, priceless artwork, and delicate fabrics got a soaking they'd never forget. The chaos erupted behind me as I walked out, shouts, panic, the sound of water pounding against the hardwood floors, Margaret screaming about the furniture, Charles cursing, Sophie crying about her clothes. I didn't look back. Sometimes, the only way to make people realize your value is to show them exactly what happens when you're gone. I could hear them freaking out as I got in my truck and drove off, water spraying everywhere, ruining all their expensive stuff. Sophie screaming about her clothes and her hair. Margaret probably losing her mind about her fancy furniture and carpets. Maybe not my most mature moment, but sometimes you've got to show people exactly what they're losing before you go, and sometimes you've got to go nuclear when people push you too far. As I drove away, I didn't feel bad, not even a little. These people had spent 2 years making me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I was some kind of embarrassment. They treated me like their personal handyman, while looking down on my profession, and Emily, the woman I thought was my partner, had shown her true colors. So yeah, I flooded their house. Electronic systems and water don't mix well. Their smart home wasn't so smart anymore. Their security system was fried, and I was free. I woke up the next day to like 50 missed calls and texts. Turned my phone back on because I still had a business to run and customers who actually respect what I do. Wasn't looking forward to the storm, but I needed to check if any of my actual clients needed me. First message from Emily: "What the hell did you do? The carpets are ruined. Mom's clothes are soaked. The security system is dead. And Dad can't even get the garage open. Fix this now." A text from Margaret, also suddenly all sweet. "We may have been a bit harsh last night. We only want what's best for your future. Please, come help us with the systems. Everything's damaged and we have our charity event tomorrow. Please, we really need you now. They need me." Funny how that works. When they want something from me, suddenly I'm not so unnecessary anymore. Last one, Charles again, pissed off. "Listen carefully. You will come back immediately and fix what you broke, or I'll have you charged with vandalism and destruction of property. I have security footage. I have proof. I have friends at the DA's office. Your little electrical business will be finished. You have until noon." So I did what any smart electrician would do, forwarded all the messages to my buddy who's a lawyer, along with a recording of dinner I'd started when things got weird. Yeah, I recorded it. After 2 years of their crap, I'd started documenting everything as a habit. Call it a survival instinct. My lawyer friend called me back right away, laughing his ass off. "Dude, they don't have a leg to stand on. You installed their system, you have admin access, and they're making threats about using connections to come after your business? This is gold." He suggested sending one final message to shut them down and protect myself. So I sent one text to Emily: "Check your system. Username still admin, password still password 1234, like I told your dad to change 1,000,000 times. Anyone could get in. Not my problem anymore. P.S. I quit." Then I blocked all their numbers and went to work. Had a big commercial job that day, wiring up a new restaurant downtown. Kept my phone off most of the day. Focused on doing quality work for people who appreciated it. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Almost didn't answer it, but figured it might be a potential client. It was Emily's cousin, someone I'd always gotten along with pretty well. She was actually cool, unlike the rest of that family. Dude, what the hell happened? The whole family is freaking out. Their house is a disaster zone. I gave her the short version: the dinner, the offer, the insults, Emily taking their side, the sprinkler incident. She was quiet for a minute, then just said, "About damn time." Turns out I wasn't the first boyfriend they'd pulled this with. Emily's last boyfriend before me was an artist, good guy, talented as hell, had his work in some decent galleries. They did the same thing to him, tried to get him to take some corporate marketing job, told him his art was just a hobby, not a real career. He didn't flood their house, but he did dump their daughter and tell the whole family to go to hell. They've been doing this for years, she told me. They can't stand the idea of anyone in their family being with someone who doesn't fit their image. It's pathetic. We talked for a while. She filled me in on the aftermath. The water had done serious damage. Their fancy hardwood floors were warping. The custom wallpaper in the dining room was ruined. Most of their electronics were fried. The security system was completely down. And the best part? They had some big charity event at their house scheduled for the next day that they'd been planning for months, and now they had to cancel it. Margaret is having a total meltdown, she said. Keeps saying her reputation is ruined and it's all your fault. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. They'd spent 2 years treating me like dirt, and now they were getting a taste of their own medicine. What about her? I asked, not even wanting to say Emily's name. Oh, she switched from please come back to he's a psycho who destroyed our house real quick. Classic, her always goes with whatever version of events makes her look best. That confirmed what I already knew. She was never really on my side. She'd always choose her family's approval over me. Better to find out now than after the wedding. My lawyer buddy called me the next day. Charles had actually tried to file a police report claiming I'd hacked their systems and vandalized their property. The cops basically laughed him off when they found out I was the one who installed everything and still had legal admin access, and threatening to use his doc connections to go after my business. That's not something you want to admit to a cop. The security company they called finally showed up and gave them an estimate to fix everything, $25. Plus, they'd need to replace most of their electronics, redo the floors, fix the walls, replace furniture. All told, probably looking at $100,000 in damages. For people like them, that's not financial ruin or anything, but it's a nice chunk of change to pay for being jerks. And they couldn't even claim it on insurance because the system wasn't professionally monitored, and they never changed the default passwords like the manual clearly stated they should. Insurance called it negligence and denied the claim. That night, I went out for dinner with some friends, told them the whole story, and had the first real laugh I'd had in weeks. One chapter closed, another one beginning, and this time, I'd make sure to write it my way, without anyone else trying to edit me into something I'm not. Next morning, I woke up to an email from one of Charles's colleagues, not the one who'd offered me the job, but someone else from the firm. Apparently, word had gotten around about what happened, and this guy wanted to meet for coffee. Turns out a lot of people at that firm couldn't stand Charles. He was the kind of boss who took credit for other people's work, talked down to everyone, and generally made life miserable. This guy had been looking for a reliable electrician for his new lake house renovation and wanted to know if I was interested. Anyone who can stand up to that ass is someone I want to work with, he said. So I got a new client out of the whole mess, and he referred me to his friends, and they referred me to their friends. Within a few weeks, my business started taking off like crazy. Turns out when one rich family talks about you, all their enemies suddenly want to hire you. It's like I accidentally tapped into this network of people who couldn't stand Emily's family but had to smile and nod at their parties. Now my business is doing better than ever. Since that night I walked out, I've had to bring on 3 more guys just to keep up with all the new clients. Bought a new work truck, got a small office space instead of running everything from my garage, and even hired a part-time office manager to handle the calls and scheduling. Never thought flooding someone's house would be good for business, but here we are. I haven't heard directly from Emily or her family in a while, but the gossip still filters back to me through mutual friends. They ended up having to completely renovate their first floor, turns out water and fancy Italian marble don't mix well. Their smart home isn't so smart anymore. They had to go back to regular switches and thermostats, because they're too scared to let me or anyone I might know near their electronics again. Charles's firm is going through some kind of restructuring code for layoffs, and he's apparently stressed as hell about his position. Margaret had to cancel 3 charity events, which I guess is like social suicide in their circles, and Sophie's gallery closed down because Daddy couldn't keep bankrolling her shitty art hobby anymore. As for Emily, she's dating some finance bro her parents introduced her to. Guy looks like every generic dude in a bank commercial, probably fits right in with the family. Hope she's happy with her upgrade. I couldn't care less about someone who doesn't respect who I am or what I do. My life has moved on to better things and better people. Speaking of better people, Last month, I was rewiring this coffee shop downtown. The owner kept bringing me these awesome homemade cookies while I worked. We got to talking during my breaks, and I found out she bought the place after quitting her corporate job. She used to be some big marketing executive but hated the politics. Said she was making less money now but was way happier. We hit it off right away. She's smart, funny, down to earth, and doesn't give a damn about status or appearances. After I finished the job, I asked her out, and we've been dating for a few weeks now. She's the opposite of Emily in every way possible, runs her own business, appreciates hard work, has a family that actually treats me like a human being. First time I had dinner with them, her dad, a plumber who built his own business, from nothing asked me detailed questions about electrical work because he was genuinely interested. Her mom made sure I got the biggest piece of pie and sent me home with leftovers. It felt warm, like family should feel. I didn't realize how much tension I'd been carrying around until it was gone. With Emily, I was always on guard, always worried about saying or doing the wrong thing, always feeling like I wasn't quite good enough. With coffee shop girl, let's call her Amy, I can just be myself. No performance, no pretending, no pressure. Last week, we were hanging out at her place. She asked about Emily, so I told her the whole story. When I finished, she just shook her head and said, "Their loss, my gain." Then she kissed me and asked if I wanted to help her pick out new pendant lights for the coffee shop. That's when it hit me I'd upgraded. Not my job, or my clothes, or my social status. I'd upgraded the people in my life. Traded fake, status-obsessed jerks for genuine, kind humans who value me for who I am, not what I do or how much I make. But they didn't leave me alone. A couple days ago, Emily texted me from a new number guess she realized I had her blocked. She said they'd finally gotten all the systems fixed. Cost them thousands more than it should have. Charles's firm is definitely downsizing, and he's stressed about potentially losing his job. Sophie's gallery closed for good. She said she missed me, said she made a mistake, said maybe we could meet up for coffee and talk. I sat there looking at her text for a long time. A month ago, I might have been tempted, might have thought there was something still worth saving. But now, all I felt was relief that I got out when I did. I didn't answer. Some circuits, once blown, can't be reset. Then, yesterday morning, I'm having coffee on my front porch, enjoying the quiet before heading to Amy's place, when this black SUV pulls up in front of my house. Out steps Emily, Charles, Margaret, and some dude in a suit I've never seen before. My stomach instantly dropped. They marched up to my front yard like some kind of uppity family militia. Emily looked like she'd been crying or pretending to. Margaret had that pinched face she always got when she was about to make a scene, and Charles looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. "We need to talk?" Charles barked. Not even a hello. "Nothing to talk about," I said, staying on my porch, not inviting them in. No way these people were getting inside my house. "I'm pregnant," Emily blurted out, "and it's yours." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What the actual hell? That's impossible," I said once I recovered. "We haven't been together in months. I'm 3 months along," she claimed, putting her hand on her stomach dramatically. "I was too afraid to tell you before now. I'm no math genius, but I know for a fact she's been with Finance Bro for at least 2 months because mutual friends had mentioned it." "That's bullshit, and you know it," I said. "You've been with that banker guy for months now." Margaret stepped forward. "How dare you accuse my daughter of lying?" "We have medical records." The dude in the suit cleared his throat. "I'm Richard Wilson, family attorney. We're prepared to file for paternity and child support immediately, unless you're willing to discuss a reasonable settlement." I started laughing, couldn't help it. This was the most ridiculous crap I'd ever heard. "Let me guess," I said. "Banker boyfriend found out the truth about our little flood incident and dumped you? Or did daddy's unemployment finally hit the family finances, and you need a new meal ticket?" Charles's face turned purple. "You think this is funny? You destroyed our home, cost us hundreds of thousands in damages. My career is in shambles because I had to cancel meetings with important clients due to our home being uninhabitable. And now you're denying my baby? My baby? I asked Emily. A miracle pregnancy that somehow defies time itself? Wow! We have witnesses that will testify you were seeing each other as recently as 3 months ago, the lawyer said smoothly. I've been with Amy since before that, I said. Ask anyone? Check my social media. Hell, check the security cameras at her coffee shop. I'm there almost every day. Emily's face flickered for a second. This clearly wasn't part of their plan. We're willing to be reasonable, Margaret said, switching tactics. Despite everything you've done, we're willing to let you be part of the child's life if you cooperate. Cooperate how? I asked, already knowing the answer. Charles stepped forward. You'll sign an agreement taking responsibility for the damages to our home. You'll make restitution payments and you'll provide appropriate child support. There it was, the real reason for this visit. They were desperate, drowning in repair bills, social humiliation, and now unemployment. And they thought they could squeeze money out of me with this pregnancy scam. Get the hell off my property, I said quietly. All of you. Now, you can't just, Emily started. Actually, I can. This is trespassing, and I'm recording this entire conversation. I held up my phone, which had indeed been recording since they pulled up. So let me be very clear. I know you're not pregnant with my child. That's mathematically impossible, but if you want to push this, I'm happy to demand a paternity test the second that baby is born. I'm also happy to countersue for defamation, harassment, extortion, and anything else my lawyer can think of. The lawyer dude shifted uncomfortably. I could tell he was starting to realize he'd been fed a bunch of lies. And one more thing, I added. I've got the recording of your dad threatening to use his DA connections against me from that dinner. I've got all the text messages showing how you all begged me to come fix your house after I left. I've got everything. So unless you want all that played in open court, I suggest you get back in your fancy SUV and forget you ever knew me. Emily burst into tears, real ones this time. Margaret put her arm around her and glared at me like I was Satan himself. Charles looked like he wanted to murder me, but the lawyer put a hand on his arm and shook his head slightly. This isn't over, Charles spat as they turned to leave. Actually, it is, I called after them. But hey, good luck with that fake pregnancy. Be sure to tell Banker Boy he's got a miracle baby on the way. I watched them drive off, then immediately called Amy and my lawyer friend to fill them in on what happened. Amy came right over, and we spent the day setting up extra security cameras around my house, just in case. My lawyer friend couldn't stop laughing when I played him the recording. This is the most amateur extortion attempt I've ever heard, he said. Don't worry about it. If they file anything, I'll destroy them. But they never did. My lawyer friend made a few calls and found out Emily wasn't pregnant at all, shocker. And when their lawyer realized how much evidence I had against them, he advised them to back off. I haven't heard from any of them since. Amy and I are talking about moving in together. Already found a nice little house with a detached garage I can convert into a workshop. Her lease on the apartment above her coffee shop is up soon, and it just makes sense. We're even talking about expanding the coffee shop, maybe adding a small lunch menu. As for Emily, Banker Boy did dump her, but not because of any fake pregnancy. He found out she'd been cheating on him with her personal trainer. Karma's a bitch. I'm installing solar panels on my new workshop next weekend. Got a loan approved for expanding the business. Thinking about starting a training program for kids who don't want to go to college, but have good hands and better brains. Amy is helping me put together a website and business plan for it. Sometimes, the best upgrade isn't the job or the money or the social status. It's upgrading who you let into your life and letting go of people who never deserved you in the first place. Yeah, I flooded my ex's family home and probably caused a small fortune in damages. Not my proudest moment, but it was the shock I needed to break free from people who were never going to accept me as I am. In the end, they wanted to upgrade me to fit their world. Instead, I upgraded my world by removing them from it, and I've never been happier.